Well, can Greece make a deal? I'm joined now from London by David Buik from BGC Partners. David, good evening.
Good evening to you, Tiki.
Now, can you give me a sense of what it's like on the floor in London in your morning?
Well, I think, having spoken to me over the months, you'll know that I'm one of the more miserable people when it comes to talking to Greece, and that I don't believe the gospel according to the European Union.
Yes.
But despite that, I think you'll find that something like 60% of people have probably already agreed to this. I'm told by those who are much greater luminaries than I shall ever be that the end figure will be between 77 and 79%. I think it will go through. I still think it's a game of tin soldiers, or a charade if you prefer, because if you and I have a conversation in a year's time, so long as night follows day, Greece cannot sustain debt at this level and grow its economy. It just can't happen. But I think the political ramifications are such, with Angela Merkel having her election next year and the opposition being much more pro-EU than perhaps her Christian Democrats are, and Sarkozy having a similar situation, I imagine that the public relations exercise that the European politicians have had will see this deal through.
Let's take it back to the next 24 hours. If you're right and we get over 75% but less than the 95% voluntary acceptance, that could mean that Greece then imposes imposes these compulsory contracts. And what will the rating agency then do? Will that not cause a default according to the rating agencies?
Technically, I think it's possible that it will. But I think Greece knows that the next 6 months to a year are absolutely vital, because even if they do default in the end, they've got to sort of regroup in a very serious way. I think people need to put this into perspective to a certain degree. Greece is responsible for 3% of GDP. Their debt is about 206 billion euros, which is a very grown-up sum of money. But I think you will see that Portugal and Ireland, who are supposed the next in the firing line, have actually made quite a lot of progress. And their debt-to-GDP ratio is somewhat better than Greece's. Yeah. And also, in the case of Ireland, it's a much smaller population, so it's easier to bring it into line.
But again,
if
we do get a credit agency suggesting that this is a default as far as they're concerned, do you think the markets will react very badly tomorrow?
I think you'll always get something where you get an oversold situation and the panic button will be pushed. But at the end of the day, if the whole of the banking community has spent the last 2 years minding or looking at its oversized navel and doesn't have contingency plan, then it deserves all the disasters that it gets. They will have contingency plans in place. I'm absolutely confident of that. And what has been the point of this LTRO, whereby the ECB has provided 1 trillion euros to the benefit of liquidity for the European banks? If they don't make proper use of it, it's not as if it's a 3-month loan, it's a 3-year loan at 1%. I suggest that there's lots of froth and lots of stories going around here. I would much rather Greece defaulted and we could all get on with our lives. It's simply not going to happen. It will go through for political reasons. But I do believe that contingency plans are in place everywhere.
All right, well, we'll see. Briefly, Apple launched its new version of the iPad. Apple shares seem to flop on that announcement.
Well, that may well be the case, because I think people are always looking to pick holes in it. But I think Tim Cook did a fantastic job. And when you consider what's happened to the shares, this is a very streamlined edition. It is more expensive. It could cost up to $829 each. There's a spread of somewhere between 500 and that. But Apple seems to be on a roll. And when you consider that their share price has gone up 49% to $500 billion, my word, I think that's a fantastic company, and I think it's onwards and upwards.
All right, that's a good one to end on. We keep our hard hats close to hand for the next 24 hours in Europe. David Buik, thank you very much for joining us.
Great pleasure.